When I die, I will send down a shower of roses from heavens. I will spend my heaven by doing good on earth.
Today we're diving into the life of someone who is incredibly close to my heart, a saint who never traveled far, never did anything big by the world's standards, and yet became one of the most beloved saints in the Catholic Church, Saint Therese of Lisieux, or as she's more affectionately known, the Little Flower.
The National Shrine to St. Therese is located in Darien, Illinois, a suburb just outside of Chicago. It holds items from Therese's childhood, like paintings by her and her sisters, toys and cups she used, even the chair she sat on as a postulant. Our first time there, I wept and my daughter asked me, "Mom, are you crying over a chair?" If you are ever in the Chicagoland, I highly recommend a visit. But if you can't make it, I will share some video from our most recent visit.
So who was Saint Therese of Lisieux, and why is she as a saint so popular? She was born Marie-Françoise Therese Martin in 1873 in a small town in France. She grew up in a loving, devout Catholic family. In fact, her parents, Louis and Zélie Martin, are saints too. Yes, an entire canonized family. Talk about life goals. From a very young age, Therese had this intense longing to give her whole life to God, and I mean intense. When she was 15, she begged the Pope to let her enter the Carmelite convent, and it worked. She joined the convent in Lisieux and stayed there until her death from tuberculosis at just 24 years old. She never went on missions, she never performed heroic public acts, and yet she became a doctor of the church, one of only a few women to receive that title. How? This is where the little way comes in. She wrote in her autobiography, Story of a Soul, "What matters in life is not great deeds, but great love."
Part of Therese's spirituality is what she called the little way, and it's all about doing the small things with great love. That's actually the whole premise of this channel, the small things we do for our families and even ourselves, and how those small things infuse faith into our daily lives. Therese knew she wasn't going to be a martyr or a missionary. She wasn't physically strong or particularly talented in the world's eyes. But she realized something incredibly beautiful, that holiness isn't about doing the big things. It's about doing the ordinary things with extraordinary love. Whether it was sweeping the floor, bearing with difficult sisters in the convent, or simply offering her daily struggles, she turned every act into a gift for God. In her autobiography, Story of a Soul, she wrote, "What matters in life is not great deeds, but great love."
And honestly, that's a message we really need today. In this culture centered in having and doing, Therese reminds us you don't have to be loud or powerful to be noticed to be a saint. You just have to love. Something else that's so real about Therese is how she dealt with suffering. In the last few years of her life, she experienced intense spiritual dryness, doubt, and the physical agony of her illness. But she didn't lose faith. In fact, she kept trusting even when she didn't feel God's presence. That kind of radical trust, even in the dark, is what makes her such a powerful saint for anyone struggling with doubt, depression, or feeling far from God. Hi, kitty.
She was canonized just 28 years after her death, And in 1997, Pope John Paul II declared her a doctor of the Church, recognizing her deep spiritual insight even though she never had formal theological training. The 100th anniversary of her canonization is October 1st, which is the day we every year celebrate her feast day. To honor her in our home, we typically make a French beef stew and have that along with croissants, meringues, and eclairs, which were known to be her favorites.
Saint Therese's impact didn't end with her death. In fact, it really started after. People around the world have reported miracles, conversions, and answered prayers through her intercession, often accompanied by the sign of a rose. So, why does Saint Therese even still matter? Because she shows us that sainthood isn't about being extraordinary, it's about loving extraordinarily. Her little way is a path for all of us. You don't need to move mountains, just love where you are, in the mess, in the ordinary, and in the quiet. So maybe today you smile at someone who needs it, you say a prayer in traffic, you clean the kitchen without complaining, and in doing that, you become a flower too. Thanks for spending these few minutes with me reflecting on the life of Saint Therese. If you've experienced her intercession or love her little way, drop a rose in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.
See you next time, and remember, small things with great love.